So yeah, a disaster. An absolute disaster for the Indiana. But like, Sid Colson's probably not going to play ball again till 2027. And she might be done. Like, Sid Colson might not play basketball, professional basketball.
That's because Aari Mcdonald is hurt as well, folks. You could not have scripted a more worse season than what we have endured so far. Fever lose Sydney Colson and Aari Mcdonald for the rest of the season. Our backup point guard's hurt, and now our backup's backup is hurt.
The scoreboard in Phoenix said 95-60, but the real damage didn't fit in a box score. One bad landing and a left knee gave out. One awkward step and a right foot cracked. 2 point guards. One game. Season ending. That's not drama. It's the report the league filed the very next day. Sydney Colson? Torn ACL in the first quarter. Aari Mcdonald? Fracture in the fourth. Indiana's backcourt didn't just get thinner. It disappeared. The timing couldn't be crueler. Caitlin Clark, the engine, the signal flare, the magnet that bends defensive gravity, has been out since July 15th with a stubborn right groin. The plan was simple: hold the line while she ramped back. Instead, the line broke. Clark will miss a 10th straight game against Chicago, with no "see you on Tuesday" circled on any calendar. Rehab moves at its own pace, and Indy's season can't pause to wait. If you just started following the Fever, this might sound like a team unraveling, but that's not the full picture. A month ago, they were lifting the Commissioner's Cup trophy in Minneapolis, beating the defending Lynx by 15, and doing it without Clark.
Sid Colson, like, it did not look like an ACL tear. It did not look like an ACL tear when it happened. I was convinced. I was like, it's either a meniscus or it's a MCL. I was like, okay, we knew when she went down, she was done for the year. And I was like, okay, if it's something like an MCL, she's back for AU. She can make her money in the offseason.
Natasha Howard owned the night. The defense strangled passing lanes, and the locker room popped champagne under tarp like a franchise figuring out what winning tastes like again. That version of Indiana, tough, connected, and fearless, didn't vanish. It's in there. That's what makes this gut punch feel like a theft. And Aari, she wasn't a placeholder. She was a plot twist. Signed on hardship in June, she went from learn the playbook on the plane to career-high 27 in a statement win over the same Phoenix team a week before the injury. Quick downhill burst, live dribble passing, no fear. You could feel the roster exhale. Okay, we've got a second gear until Caitlin's back. Now that gear is on ice. Here's the part casual fans miss. In the W, you don't just grab a sub and keep it moving. There's a rules wall. Hardship signings exist for exactly this moment, but you can't deploy one until the impacted players actually miss a game. Translation: Indiana must play Chicago with 9 available, then petition for help. No shortcuts, no emergency backdoor, just a long 40 minutes of duct tape. Earliest realistic reinforcement? The Dallas game after that. That's not front office being slow. That's the rule book.
And we lost 2 very, very competent players, including the starting point guard that was filling in for the other starting point guard. This is a disaster. This is a disaster. And what this does for a potential playoff push, I don't know. Because, you know, I've seen people say, well, sign a guard or whatever. Well, there's salary cap implications out there too right now. I even saw somebody say we might have to waive Chloe Bibby to sign a point guard.
So what does the court look like now? Think of a seesaw. On one side, Kelsey Mitchell, pure bucket, elite footwork, and better as a scorer than as a table setter, now tasked with triggering the offense. On the other, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, both wings by trade, asked to moonlight as initiators. Every possession becomes a puzzle. Can you enter cleanly to Aaliyah Boston or Natasha Howard without a true PG? And can you survive the counters when opponents pinch at the elbows to blow up handoffs? This is where Colson's calm mattered, even in 12-minute nights. This is where Mcdonald's pressure release mattered, even if it didn't trend on your timeline. Chicago won't exactly be whole either. Angel Reese has battled a back issue and has missed 8 of the Sky's last 10, so the game could feel like a rock fight. But if you've watched this league, you know how nights like this go. Whoever controls tempo without coughing up live ball turnovers wins ugly. When your only dribble passers are out, ugly becomes your path. And still, the bar is higher than survive. Through Thursday, Indiana sat 5th in the table, squarely in playoff range. That's why this matters. Injuries don't just steal talent. They erase the rhythm a contender spends months building. You saw it during the Cup. Tight shell defensively, fast but purposeful in transition. Roll clarity everywhere. To keep their seed, they have to recreate that identity without the people who make it easiest. That's the job. If you're searching for a reason to believe, start here. This team has already proven it can adapt on the fly. It won a cup missing its star. It found an on-ramp for a hardship guard and let her cook. The staff has rethreaded rotations twice already this summer. The question isn't can they? It's whether they can do it fast enough to avoid slipping into the kind of seed that turns round one into a mountain. And in the WNBA, mountains arrive early. Here's the part that makes fans want to throw the manual out the window. Help exists, but you only get it after you've already suffered. The league's hardship route is like a fire alarm behind glass. You can break it, but only once the flames are visible. Players have to miss a game.
I got to be the one to tell you, look like the Indiana Fever could be signing another player. Basically, another hardship player could be on the way. Sydney Colson hurt. Aari Mcdonald hurt. Now, we got to see who's available again at the point guard position. Again. We got to go through this again, y'all. This looked very familiar to the month of June. I believe, was it June? When Caitlin, Sid, who else was hurt? Sophie was hurt. This looked like June again.
Rosters have to dip below comfort. Paperwork has to prove the pain is real. That means one more night of tight rotations, cross-trained wings, and prayers that the ball crosses half court without a trap forcing disaster. It's not front office caution. It's bureaucracy. And if you've ever tried to sprint through mud, you know what this will feel like. Cap math adds its own maze. You can sign a temporary guard, sure, but every temporary fix ripples through the rest of your build. 7-day contracts, prorated deals, veteran minimums versus younger, cheaper legs, all of it forces choices. Do you bet on an older head who knows the late game reads, or a fearless rookie whose speed alone creates oxygen in the half court? Do you chase shooting to space the floor for Boston and Howard, or prioritize a table setter who can survive pressure and keep Mitchell in her natural lane? Every yes steals from a different yes. There is no clean answer, only trade-offs. The X's and O's will look different, too. Without a true point guard, the Fever's offense has to flatten into simple. Think horn sets with Boston at the elbow. High-low actions where Howard seals early and the entry passes come from above the break, not the wing. Dribble.
Sydney Colson tore her ACL. Folks, you saw her land on her left leg. It didn't look pretty. Her left leg completely gave out on her. It exploded underneath.
Handoffs that function like a running start for Mitchell, so she receives the ball already moving downhill. You can live without a classic floor general if the first read arrives on time, the second read is automatic, and the third read never becomes necessary. Urgency replaces elegance. 2 passes, a hit ahead, a shot, or a foul. Pretty? No. Effective? It can be. Defensively, the identity can't wobble. You lean on your shell and choke the middle. You tag rollers with size, flood the paint early, and punish teams that think they'll simply body you on the block because your guards are makeshift. Cunningham and Hull have to be loud, point, call, stunt, recover, because communication is how you hide the seams. If the offense gets stuck, defense becomes the energy generator. Wall off the elbows, dig on post touches, and turn deflections into the only fast breaks you'll see all night. Short term, the path is blunt. You grind through the next game with 9, then you hit the hardship window as hard as possible. The schedule won't wait, so you build a 3-game plan around who you actually are today, not who you hope to be in 2 weeks. Game 1, survive handling. Game 2, stabilize spacing. Game 3, reintroduce pace once the new guard's feet are under her. You don't fix the car, you keep it on the road until the mechanic arrives. So who can keep it on the road? You'll hear names with different flavors.
Came in with a crazy role, right? Learning plays on the airplane. landing and playing her first game without turning the ball over at all. Not turning the ball over at all, y'all. Just came in and was a huge X factor for this Indiana Fever team. Caitlin Clark didn't even get a chance to play like that with Aari Mcdonald, man. I'm sick.
The veteran bucket getter who can moonlight at point and won't blink late. The pestering, undersized defender who picks up 94 feet and changes the temperature of a quarter. The steady local favorite who knows the building, the coaches, the system. The low turnover caretaker who won't wow you, but won't sink you either. Each profile plugs one leak and opens two more. That's the truth of emergency signings. They're bandages, not skin grafts. Profile A, the downhill spark. Small, fast, relentless. She collapses the paint and forces rotations even when the play fizzles. In this version, Mitchell slides back to scoring mode, catching on the move instead of carrying the dribble burden. Boston's touches rise because the defense has to tag drives, leaving a pocket at the dotted line. Downsides? Turnovers spike on night one. Chemistry takes a minute, but if you need oxygen, speed is oxygen. Profile B, the veteran organizer. Slower feet, quicker brain. She won't blow by anyone, but she'll put the ball where it belongs and get you into your actions with 8 seconds left on the clock instead of 5. The offense breathes. The coach sleeps. The cost? Limited paint pressure, which means defenses sit on Mitchell and dig on post entries. Your ceiling lowers, but your floor rises. In a tight standings race, floors can be priceless. Profile C, the two-way connector. Not a classic point guard, not just a 3-and-D wing, but the connective tissue who makes the extra pass, switches across actions, and keeps the ball pinging. She's a coach's catnip because nothing breaks when she checks in. With her, Cunningham and Hull move back into cleaner roles. The second unit finds rhythm, and the lineup data starts to stabilize. What you won't get is late clock shot creation. You'll still need Mitchell to improvise. Profile D, the bet on tomorrow rookie. Raw, fearless, chaos in sneakers. She'll make a mistake, then erase it with a steal. She'll forget a set, then turn a broken play into 2 free throws. If you believe the Fever's identity is grit plus speed, this bet makes emotional sense. But rookies ride roller coasters. If your next 10 days decide your seed, you want a train, not a coaster. Whichever path they choose, the rotation will flex. Expect more 5-out looks to stretch the floor and simplify reads. Expect Boston short rolls with shooters lifted in both corners, so the first kickout is obvious and the second swing opens a corner 3. Expect Howard to be the emergency release. Pop, catch, one dribble pull-up before the defense crowds. Expect Mitchell to see traps early. The counters must be baked in. Slip the screen, reject the handoff, cut from the weak side 45 whenever her defender turns his head at the nail. Complexity is a luxury. Clarity is the plan. There's also a mental layer you can't diagram. When a locker room loses 2 teammates in one night, you don't just replace the minutes, you replace the calm. Colson's impact was as much presence as production. McDonald's rise had become a story the whole group rallied around. That energy doesn't disappear, but it changes. Leaders have to talk more. Assistants have to scout cleaner. The first timeout huddle has to be crisp, not crowded. Whether fans see it or not, these details swing quarters and quarters swing weeks. Zoom out and the gauntlet becomes the story. Every opponent sees the same scouting report. Press the inbounds, sit in the gaps, make the Fever dribble in traffic, dare them to execute late clock without a pure point. Indiana's response can't be to meet force with panic. It has to be tempo discipline. Push when you win the rebound clean, pull when the spacing isn't right, refuse the first bad shot even when nerves beg you to take it. Ugly wins count the same. In August, ugly wins are how seeds are kept. Fans will ask the fair question, why not sign 2 and run with 12? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Contract status, guaranteed deals, and late season timing limit the Lego pieces you can snap together. Also, more isn't always more. If the coach trusts 9 plus 1 new guard, that 10-player group can become a tighter, more predictable machine than a churned 12 with unclear roles. Continuity is invisible until it's gone. Then it's everything. But that wasn't the whole story, because roster math is only half of the fight. The other half is shots. Who takes them, where they come from, and how the Fever can weaponize what they still have. That's where the next chapter lives, redefining the offense around Boston's touch map, Howard's mid-range gravity, and Mitchell's timing, while a stopgap guard finds her sea legs on the fly. If the Fever are going to hold the line, they have to redraw the floor. Not with a whiteboard, but with habits. What used to start at the top of the key now starts on the block. What used to be hit Caitlin, flow into motion becomes hit Boston, make a cut, earn an angle. The smartest thing Indiana can do right now is shrink the playbook and deepen the reads. Less geometry, more gravity. The center of it all is Aaliyah Boston. Every possession that touches her should do so with purpose. Early seals, elbow catches, short rolls into the dotted line, and those patient face-ups where she sees over the crowd. The first read is simple. If the defender stays home, it's a touch shot or a bully step to the glass. If the second defender leans in, the kick-out goes to a lifted shooter, and the ball swings once, maybe twice. No extra spice, no dribble dance. With 2 point guards gone, the post becomes your point guard. It won't show up in the assist column the way it does for guards, but it will show up on the scoreboard. Natasha Howard is the pressure valve. In the cup run, she was the grown-up bucket, face up at the nail. One dribble into a pull-up before help arrives, or slip behind a ball watcher for a sneaky layup. Without a true handler, her timing matters even more. When pressure creeps high, she's the emergency release. Flash to the elbow, catch strong, make a fast decision. If the defense switches, she puts a smaller body in the chokehold. If they don't, she waltzes to the dotted line and forces contact. You don't need a conductor when your forwards can conduct. And then there's Kelsey Mitchell, the closer. The job is not to bring the ball up. The job is to end possessions. When she initiates, traps follow. When she arrives late, off a handoff, off a shallow cut, off a corner exchange, the defense is half a step slow and she looks like herself again. Her best minutes will come from motion catches, downhill footwork, snatch into a pull-up, or a hard plant and slice to the rim. The trick is to give her a map that keeps her away from early traffic. Think of it like building a runway for a jet. Long, clear, and pointed at the basket. 3 actions can define the next week. First, the Horns elbow hub. Start with Boston and Howard at the elbows, Mitchell on the wing, and a shooter in the corner. Enter to Boston.
They don't lose a cent. So Aari and Colson don't lose a cent if they get cut. They're just no longer on the roster. They don't lose 1 cent of money. And it means the Fever can bring in players. But we know the Fever aren't going to do it. If Alexa Philippou is talking about them not being able to sign a hardship, we know they're just going to sign a hardship. We know they're going to go out. Like, the Fever can literally get rid of the 2 of them, sign 2 new players, and go out with 12 players in the playoffs. But we know the Indiana Fever are going to go out with 10 players in the playoffs. Like, we just know they're going to do it. We know they're going to do it. Like, we know, like, look, they're going to be dumb for cutting. They're not, like, if anyone's getting cut, it's going to be Chloe Bibby. If anyone's getting cut, they're going to cut her. You just know it. For PR reasons. Could also cut Bree Turner. At this stage, she's got diplomatic immunity.
Mitchell cuts through, then circles back for a handoff while Howard screens Boston's defender on the inside. What you've created is a moving wall. If the on-ball defender chases, Mitchell turns the corner. If help tags, Boston dims the lights with a touch pass to the corner. If nobody helps, Boston takes 2 big steps and ends it herself. Clean, repeatable, hard to blow up, without overhelping. Second, the 45 cut package. When opponents stunned at Boston's catch, the nearest wing must cut straight at the rim from the 45-degree slot. It's not glamorous, but it's punishing. 1 step too slow from the defense, and it's a layup. 1 step too early, and the kickout lands in a wide-open pocket. Cunningham and Hull can feast on this, not because they're suddenly lead guards, but because their timing turns crowded possessions into clean ones. The point isn't to rack up assists. The point is to punish peaks. Third, the ghost and go game for Mitchell. Without a natural handler, screens attract bodies, and bodies create mess. So fake them. Ghost screens, run up, suggest contact, then pop out, force the on-ball defender to decide in a hurry. If the defense switches, Mitchell attacks a big in space. If they miscommunicate, the pop is open. If they chase, you've pulled 2 to the ball, and the next pass wins. You don't need a maestro when deception gives you a beat. Defense has to feed all of this. The Fever won't have a ton of live dribble creation, so they need to manufacture chaos the old-fashioned way. Wall up early, rebound with violence, and run on the catch. Boston's first outlet has to be quick. Howard rim runs, even if she doesn't get it. She forces a tag, and flattens the backline. Cunningham and Hull have to gamble selectively. One dig, one stunt, one swipe per possession, not three. The goal isn't highlight steals, it's tempo theft. One extra transition chance per quarter is 8 free points a night. That swings seeds. Now fold in the incoming stopgap guard. Day 1, she's not fixing the offense. She's stopping the bleeding. Bring the ball up clean. Get the team into the first action with 18 on the clock, not 12. Take the trap. Reverse it, breathe. That alone makes Boston's catches earlier, Howard's elbow touches cleaner, and Mitchell's looks less desperate. By day 3, you add the second layer. A set or two she likes. One ATO she can run in her sleep, and a pet two-man dance with Boston. By day 7, she's no longer just the hardship. She's a rhythm piece. That's the arc. That's enough. Shot diet matters. Mid-range isn't a sin if it comes from the right hands at the right time. Howard from the nail? Yes. Mitchell off balance into a long 2 with 4 on the clock? Yes, because the clock made the choice. Boston fadeaways at 12 feet? Yes, when the double is late and the angle is right. What you avoid are the early clock bailouts, the quick pull with no rebounders, the contested wing 3 that arrives because the moment felt heavy. Heavy shots miss. Clear shots drop. Simple math, ruthless discipline.
The thing is, with the two of them out, if you guys don't know, they're able to get someone on a hardship, but if they want to replace 2 for 2, they have to cut one of them or cut returner. It is not possible for the Indiana Fever to go out with more than 10 players the rest of the year. They have 2 rest of season injuries on guaranteed contracts. They can't go out with more than 10 players the rest of the year. And the problem is the coach doesn't like playing 3 other players. The coach doesn't like playing KK, the coach doesn't like playing Chloe Bibby, and the coach doesn't like playing Bree Turner.
The other math lives in the paint. Without a true table setter, your free throws have to rise. That means cutting through bodies, not around them. It means duck-ins after every switch and seals after every offensive rebound. It means playing through bumps until whistles have no choice. Points with the clock stopped are oxygen for thin rotations. They buy breath for legs that have to guard more than they used to. Coaching tweaks will surface in the little things. More early timeouts to reset spacing. Shorter stints for the wings to keep legs fresh against pressure. Deliberate 2-for-1s at quarter's end to steal possessions. Maybe even a surprise zone for 2 trips just to cool an opponent's guard who smells blood. None of this is glamorous, but post-injury basketball rarely is. You don't chase perfect. You hunt advantages. Leadership has to sharpen, too. On nights when the passes feel a half beat late, a team can either splinter or huddle tighter. Colson's voice won't be on the floor, so someone else has to be the weather vane. That can be Howard with a look that says we're fine, or Boston with a clap that resets the group, or Mitchell with the quiet calm of a veteran scorer who's seen the movie and knows the ending can still be good. Fans underrate how much composure scores. It's not a stat, but it steals points from panic. If you want to find a turning point, look for the first fourth quarter, where Indiana runs the same simple action 3 straight times and gets 3 different answers. A Mitchell pull-up, a Boston seal, a corner 3. That's when you'll know the new geometry is taking hold. That's when the hardship guard stops feeling like a guest and starts feeling like a teammate. That's when survive turns into impose. But that wasn't the whole story, because all the schematic polish in the world can't outrun the calendar. The next stretch will decide more than seed. It will decide the narrative. Are the Fever the team that lifted a cup without their star, adapted twice, and found one more gear when the league expected a stall? Or are they the team that ran out of ball handlers in time? The schedule has no sympathy either way. The question isn't simply if Caitlin Clark returns, it's what kind of team she comes back to. Soft tissue stuff is a patience test, not a toughness test, and the ramp is rarely linear. First, it's straight line running. Then it's controlled cuts. Then it's live reps that remind you your lungs and legs forgot what fourth quarters feel like. The trap is believing the jersey fixes everything on night 1. It doesn't. The best version of this ramp is boring. Minutes limits that feel annoying, carefully scripted bursts that feel too short, and a refusal to chase hero ball when the legs aren't ready. That's how you protect the investment and the player at the same time. There's also the mental part, no MRI scans. Clark's wiring is all gas, compete, organize, raise the group, and that mindset can collide with a body that says not yet. The rehab loop is humbling. Dominate practice, feel great, wake up tight, start over. The win here is rhythm, not fireworks. Give her a small menu, early drag into a kick, 1 horn set she can conduct with her eyes closed, and 2 ATOs where the first read is automatic. She doesn't need to save a season in 1 week. She needs to put her fingerprints back on the game without smudging the glass. Zoom out to the core's timeline and the stakes turn long-term. Aaliyah Boston is already an anchor who makes good habits contagious. Kelsey Mitchell is in her prime and still adding little edges, pacing, counters, late clock toughness. Natasha Howard gives you veteran gravity, that quiet assurance great teams need when quarters tilt.
And not feeling the best, and then frustrated of how hard I worked in the off season, and then all I do is rehab and continue to do this process, and just trying to trust that the best I can. And obviously there's really frustrating days, and there's days where it's a little bit easier, and you're very, very motivated, and you're close to the finish line of getting back and being back, and then it's not like I have a training camp to build up to playing my first game again. It's no, you're tossed into game 30. Go try to play well. It's hard.
Add Clark back to that spine, and you don't just have talent. You have identities that can win in multiple ways. That's what real windows look like. The danger? Believing windows stay open just because they should. Injuries and cap tables don't care about destiny. You build guardrails now, or you watch the same problems repeat next summer. That's the front office's riddle. This isn't about splashes or headlines. It's about fit. The stopgap you bring in today should reflect the team you want to be tomorrow. If your identity is tempo and pressure, you sign speed and live with the mess while you train it. If your identity is half-court poise, you prioritize a caretaker who can play chess at 18 seconds and won't blink at 8. Either choice is defensible. What isn't defensible is mixing messages, adding a lane-changing guard while asking the group to play a crawl. Make the bet and live it loudly. Coaching has a mirror decision. Ride a tight 9 and chase cohesion? Or expand, risk sloppiness, and buy oxygen for tired legs? The answer can change night to night, but the principle can't. Roles must be simple enough to survive turbulence. That means pre-calling your first 3 sets of each quarter so handling is stabilized. It means building a 2-player game for every wing so nobody becomes a bystander. It means owning the math. If spacing collapses, you can't survive on 20-foot prayers. You need paint touches, free throws, and corner threes created by cuts, not dribbles. Ugly points are still points. There's a defensive identity waiting to be claimed, too. When you lose ball handlers, you don't win shootouts. You win control. Shrink the floor. Choke the elbows. Force teams into the mid-range swamp. If you must gamble, gamble early in the clock so the help behind it is still organized. And when you get a stop, run on a catch, not after head count. Those 2 or 3 free baskets a quarter aren't 4 for an offense missing its most natural initiators. Where does all of this lead? To a fork with 2 honest paths. Path 1 blueprint. The hardship guard brings the ball up without panic. Boston becomes the hub, Howard the valve, Mitchell the closer, and the shot profile tilts toward paint, line, corner. The wings cut with timing instead of hope. Fourth quarters turn into a 2-action script instead of a 7-dribble adventure. Clark returns with a narrowed play menu that grows each game. The standings don't care that it isn't pretty. They only count the 2 or 3 possessions a night you used to throw away and now bank. That's how you survive August and steal September. Path 2, Scar. The rotations yo-yo. The shot diet slips into early clock heaves and late clock prayers. The stopgap can't survive pressure. The spacing sags. The turnovers give opponents fast breaks you can't get back. Clark pushes faster than the ramp allows because losing is loud and patience is quiet. You grind, you gut, but the margin shrinks to a coin flip you don't control. Seasons like this leave marks, not with drama, but with a dozen 4-minute lulls that felt fixable and weren't. There's a middle, yes, but seasons tend to pick a lane by accident or on purpose. Picking it on purpose is the whole point of the next 10 days. The narrative will chase whichever path you feed. If Indiana leans into resilience, that becomes the brand. Defend, cut, punish, breathe. Lift the Cup was a plot twist. Surviving this is character development. And if the breaks don't fall, then the offseason becomes honest.
My goodness, another hardship player's on the way. Damn! Somebody said my freaking blood pressure is high. I can't with these losses. I mean, tonight loss was ridiculous, guys. I mean, they're downright ignorant. This was a downright ignorant loss. An embarrassment to the team, an embarrassment to the fan base. And I'm telling you right now, oh my God. Look at what the Phoenix Mercury.
You codify the identity in pen. These are our actions. These are our lineups. This is our guard profile. And you chase the skill set that protects it. Windows aren't wishes. They're blueprints you update before the weather changes. Fans will still want the highlight version. They'll wait for the logo threes, the no-look lasers, the momentum tsunamis. They'll come back. But the story that lasts is quieter. A locker room that didn't flinch when two positions evaporated, a staff that didn't chase fireworks when they needed floorboards, and a star who learned how to steer without flooring it. That's not cliquey. It's how contenders are made. So, what should you watch for starting now? The first game where the Fever win by playing small ball math. Fewer turnovers than threes allowed, more free throws than mid-range attempts, more Boston touches than broken sets. The first closing stretch, where Mitchell gets 2 clean looks without pounding, where Howard bails out a stuck possession with a nail jumper, where a hardship guard beats a trap with a simple reverse and a slow exhale. And the first post-game where nobody calls it gritty or ugly, they just call it normal. That's the tell. Maybe this really is the night the season pivoted. Maybe Phoenix was the rip you could hear from space. But maybe it was also the line in the sand. The W doesn't hand out sympathy, only schedules. If Indiana uses the next stretch to harden an identity, the injury bug writes Chapter 12, not the epilogue. If they don't, the lesson arrives all the same, and the front office spends the winter building a roster that makes sure the script doesn't get a sequel. Either way, the ending isn't stamped yet. It lives in the cuts you make without thinking, the timeouts you take before panic, the minutes you protect before magic, and the boring discipline that turns chaos into structure. Titles are won with talent. Seasons like this decide whether talent gets a chance. And if Clark jogs back in with that familiar calm and the ball finds energy again, if Boston's touches stay rich, Howard's elbow game keeps humming, and Mitchell's fourth quarters become routine, then this won't be remembered as the season that fell apart in the desert. It'll be remembered as the month the young core learned how to breathe underwater and came back to the surface meaner, smarter, and ready for the deep end.